And we're live. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Mojo Show, your real estate podcast where we talk about everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
This week's episode, we're breaking down the rookie mistakes buyers make when submitting an offer, specifically from the lender's perspective. Because once you found that perfect house and you're ready to put an offer in, but one wrong move and you could lose the deal or your financing. But before we get to that, a little coffee talk with the Joes as we do every episode. This episode, and if you're watching, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, not just Joe and I, because I want to put this on Joe here, asking him in his household with you and Tina on these things, but I would love to hear some of you listening in what your thoughts are. So, Joe, the toilet paper, over or under?
You haven't been married for 20 years if you don't know which way your wife wants that. It's over. It's over every time. Don't even ask me that question again, because I have had to tell my kids that 1,000 times. So yeah, it is over.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, how about this? As far as dishes, do you guys is it sponge or the brush?
It's both. Yeah, my wife had. See, I actually hope she's watching because I'm getting some brownie points right now. So the brush is for when it's like dirty dishes.
Okay.
And the sponge is used after you've already scraped off the dish. If you're cleaning the pot or you're cleaning the pan, you use the sponge. You do not use the sponge on the dirty, because then you get in trouble.
Wow. Because then you get in trouble.
Right. I got this one today, man.
I hope she is watching right now, because she's like, yep.
Mm-hmm. I want to hear some comments. I want to know if anybody's agreeing with this or disagreeing, because I just agree because she says so. I'm just going to leave that one alone.
Okay, now how about this? Because I got a couple more for you. Your socks, folded or rolled up?
Oh, that one, it's kind of, now it's back to roll up. It was fold because we have a golden retriever that liked to eat socks when he was a puppy. And if you had them rolled up, they got stuck in the stomach. But if they were folded, they didn't get stuck as much. So,
okay.
So it's back to rolled now, though.
So
wait, I'm going back to you. You're newly married. Wait, why do I get all these questions? You're newly married.
Yeah.
Question to you, toilet paper.
Well, so for me, it's got to go over the top. Okay.
All right.
Because beards are better than mullets.
Okay.
For her, and I'll catch her sometimes. Like if she switches needs a new roll, I know when she has replaced it, because she'll do the mullet, over the back, right? So of course, what do when I see that? I switch it around the way it's supposed to be.
So right? I am that friend when you really have an irritation of a buddy, I kind of like I hone in on that. So when I'm over at one of my friends' house where we're having drinks and stuff, I always switch it because his wife gets so mad.
Yep, absolutely.
So I am that guy. I'll mess with my really good friends that way. But I was wondering with you and Carrie, because Carrie and you guys, you're newlyweds, so having to learn these things. Now this one, I don't know if it's on your list, but real quick before we get into our show,
okay,
toothpaste.
Okay.
Do you have to roll it up from the bottom, or does it matter? You just squeeze the toothpaste and you put it on.
So she has hers, I have mine, right?
Okay.
As far as toothpaste, for me, if it's a new tube, right, you just kind of squeeze it. But as it gets down to the bottom, I got to roll it up and use the handle of the toothbrush and kind of flatten it out, to get all that up to the front. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. No, that is one that does not bother my wife. I with everything else, when it's the toothpaste, yes, when it gets down to the bottom, you're starting to roll it up just so you don't miss any. But she doesn't really hone in on it has to be only squeezed from the bottom and all that stuff. But those other ones, I don't mess with the other ones that you asked me about. So
I would love to hear from some of our listeners on this, what they prefer, especially with the toilet paper and that
Right.
socks rolled up or not. Now, do you guys have it to where laundry, do you have just one day, one big day for laundry, or just whenever, just throw it in?
That one, it's been weird. But no, I don't have a certain day. It's like, oh, I got to do laundry. It might be 11 o'clock at night, midnight. I might throw the load in and then finish it up and go to bed. So I don't have a day for that one.
Now, for you, this is going deep, all right? But the TV, the volume on the TV, when you turn the volume up or down, does it always end up on an even number or an odd number?
Well, I've never really noticed that.
No?
I know where I can get to when she's wanting it quiet and how quiet I need to be in the mornings when I'm getting coffee and stuff like that. But no, I don't ever watch that. You watch that?
I don't know why. It's like I always, when I turn it up, it's on an even number, like 12 or 14 or, I don't know
Gotcha.
why. That's
Well, that was a different coffee talk this morning. Got my brain working. Thanks for that one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to tax your brain so early in the morning there.
But I mean, today's show, I'm liking this one. What are some things to avoid when you're making offers and things like that? And one of the ones that I always question is, when you're making that offer, what do you need to make sure you have to get that offer accepted better and things like that? In your opinion, what's one of the big ones to you that you see some people make that maybe aren't using a real estate agent, aren't using anything, but what is one of the things that you're seeing that you don't do this if you're putting in an offer on a house or trying to buy a house?
So I want everybody to think about this. When you're putting an offer in, right? Just that word offer, you're talking about money, right? That's what you're talking about. So who are you talking to about that offer? It should be your lender, right? Right out the gate. Before you put an offer in, you should be talking to your lender. Yes, hopefully you've gotten pre-approved, right? Now say you pre-approved for $350,000, and that's about what the purchase price is on the home that you're looking at. Still, I encourage you to talk to your lender because they can put the numbers together for you, because they're going to, at least I know, Joe, you and I do this, right? We pull the property taxes from the county in so that we know, because it could be a 1.87%. It could be a 2.6%. And that's going to hugely affect your property taxes for your escrow and your monthly payments. It's also going to affect your cash to close, right? So to be able to know those numbers, because when we pre-approve you, remember those numbers, they're just kind of placeholders for right now, that we have for you. So to be able to know, I mean, I remember my first house, Joe, when I bought it, the loan officer didn't do that with me. And I kind of crossed my fingers going, man, I hope I can do this. Right. So talk to your lender.
And I'm going to make sure we're clarifying this. Joe's talking about talk to your lender before you're making that offer, just to make sure that payment is fitting into that budget that you're wanting.
Yes.
Because, especially in Texas, we have very large property taxes compared to other states. Mm-hmm. So, and homeowners insurance. Those are two things that, are weighing on that payment and your budget. So making sure that you're talking to the lender and your agent. And that's another big part in here is, before you're making that offer, your agent, if they're not talking with your lender, that's not good. Your lender should be sharing those numbers with your agent. So it's a communication between all three, right? Mm-hmm. So we've got to make sure we're doing a better job at that communication when you're making an offer, because what happens if you have to have seller credits? Right. I'm dealing with a client right now. They have the funds, but they don't want to pay the closing costs. So they're trying to make an offer with getting seller credits. Well, if I'm not talking with that agent and that agent doesn't know the numbers, that agent's trying to see, hey, maybe I need to help the client drop the price more than trying to get the seller concessions,
Mm-hmm.
even though I already set up the other way. So if I didn't have that communication also with the agent and you as a buyer, we're setting ourselves up to fail in the very beginning. So it's very important that you're talking to your lender, and the lender and your agent are communicating also when you're making that offer. So,
especially if you end up deciding that you wanted a townhouse, you saw a townhouse that had the perfect layout that you want, an open concept, whatever it is, that's going to change things. That's a different type of property instead of really a single family home, right? And we have to account for that. The homeowners association fees, and they're going to weigh into this, right? Can be very different. It could be $100 a month. It could be $350 a month, right? So the type of property is going to weigh in on that, as well as property taxes and stuff, because we want to make sure that you're being put in the right financial position for all of this, is what it is. So definitely talk to your lender and make sure that they are coordinating together, your agent and your lender, on this.
And one thing that I'm going to tell you too is you have a lot of first-time home buyers out there that go to these new build communities without real estate agents. I understand it. I would still recommend taking a real estate agent if you're going to look at new builds.
Yes.
And out of professional courtesy to any lender out there, builders, they have deals sometimes we can't do, but their deals aren't always the best when it comes to that. So also talking to that professional that has helped you get pre-approved, even if you're going to a builder, show them what you're getting. And if that lender is anything like Joe and I are, we're going to tell you that's the best deal for you, because that builder's lender is not calling you to refinance when rates drop, because that's not their focus, but you still want that. But the reason I say this is talking to your lender, going to a new build, having a real estate agent are all things to protect yourself. It's not going to get you a better price on that house if you don't have a real estate agent. It might help some if you don't, but it's not worth it a lot of times, because now the legal part is on you. So talking with your lender and getting that real estate agent involved is very important, in my opinion.
It is.
When you're trying to buy a house.
It is, especially with builders and realtors. If you're listening in, I would love to hear your comments on this. I'm going to give mine, right? But buyers, if you're out there going to builders, looking at the models and everything, take your realtor with you. If you don't, I want you to keep in mind those builders, whose interest are they looking out for? Their own.
Right.
And if you don't take your realtor with you, they are going to represent you as the realtor, and their interest is themselves, right? Not you. So take your realtor with you, because your realtor has your interest in mind, not the.
That goes also for if you really like a house in a neighborhood and you see the sign there and you call that person. Well, that person on the sign, their first representation is to the sellers, just like a builder sales office is.
Yes,
it's to the seller. So having your own representative, and I've helped some clients understand things. I've got one right now. It's a friend of his that's selling a house. So he's getting represented on both sides. You still want another opinion. So we do provide some of that guidance when we help our clients. But I agree with you, Joe. Taking that real estate agent or working with them, and if you go to that builder or you go to an open house, tell them who your realtor is right from the start.
Yes.
That way they don't try to cut them out or anything for you. But that's a huge one right there, is not having that communication up front.
Yes. What do you think is another one?
Well, I think it leads in, if you're not talking to your lender when you're going to make an offer, that makes, in my opinion, a weaker pre-approval letter.
Yep. There you go.
You and I, we've talked on past shows what I do a little different, and I'm going to let you share what you do. But on a pre-approval letter, I'm either doing a video and I'm sending that video to your buyer's agent that's representing you, so they can send it to the listing agent with the offer. And in that video, I'm going over the pre-approval letter. I'm going over what I've done. I'm not telling them your details, but I'm saying I've already looked at all the income. I've calculated it. I've already made sure the assets are, available and be able to use. And, and then I explained, we're looking for seller concessions on this if we are with our offer to help offset some of the cost and things out of pocket. I will use that, and then I'll share my information, and, I get good feedback on it. So that's another step. Or if I don't have time to do the video, I'll call the listing agent.
That's typically what I do.
And speak to the strengths of my file and what I've already done. And that helps so much more. And if you don't do that first one that we just talked about, then your lender is not calling, and helping you get that offer accepted, in my opinion. That's my process. Joe, what's yours?
I agree. So, for me, when I get someone pre-approved, I do a video call with them and the realtor agent if they want to join in. And I go through an overview of their mortgage, their estimated monthly payment, interest rates, and all the closing costs.
Yep.
And when I'm done with all of that, and if it all fits with their financial goals, then great. I release or send the pre-approval letter to them and their realtor. If the numbers aren't where they want it, if it's not in their budget, then we play with the numbers and get it where it needs to be to meet their financial goal before sending out that pre-approval letter, right? And then once that's sent out, yes, you've got the golden ticket, right? The Willy Wonka golden ticket to be able to start shopping around for the home, your dream home. And when you put that offer in, I always tell the realtor, CC me on that email to the listing agent with your offer so that I can reach out. I personally call that realtor, that listing agent, and go over the pre-approval letter with them. Because, and honestly, the listing agents, folks, they love it because now they feel more comfortable because of two things. They know the strength of that pre-approval and the communication. And that is huge. And they're going to relay that to their sellers that they feel confident about this offer. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, that offer ends up being accepted because we reach out to the listing agent.
And that brings up a great point, is that extra phone call. Also, I just did this yesterday with that same client where the realtors represent both sides. We started talking about why we're going FHA, and then we started talking about a bunch of things on the house. What might be a concern.
Yes.
That's another just strength, because they know that I'm looking out, or I've looked at that property. And if my buyer didn't have that conversation with me and I didn't already look through all the pictures, I would have given an FHA pre-approval on a house that can't go FHA without something being worked on.
Right.
So that really helped also yesterday when I was dealing with that. And I know it's fresh, but this is stuff that comes up all the time.
All the time. Yes.
When we call them, and, having that strength in that pre-approval makes your offer look better, and it gets to the top. It's more of a priority. Or I like to tell stories, especially if it's a seller that's lived in the house for a long time. I like to tell the stories. I've got a family that's got 3 kids in an apartment. They're looking for their first home. If that's the truth of it, that's what I share in that listing call too. So it's just, I play on heartstrings, because people want their home to be loved just like they loved it, unless you're buying from an investor.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you bring up a good point, though, in regards to an FHA compared to a conventional with the appraisal, because that kind of leads into as far as if repairs are needed on the home. Right now, I know that's a big subject for you and I as lenders. When we see the contract come across and it's got spelled out in there as far as what repairs and that are, a part of the agreement to be done.
And then it says, in lieu of repairs, give X amount in seller concessions.
Right. That we don't want to see that, folks.
No,
please just understand, we don't want to see that.
So this, you're talking about more of things on contracts that hinder your lending part being done correctly. Yes. I like this. I like this topic. Because you talk about repairs. There are certain repairs that we want to be okay with, but if you're listing those repairs because they came up on your home inspection, we don't want those, because unless the appraiser points them out, it's not something that we want to, one, get more documentation on. for you as a buyer, if you want to make sure all this stuff is done prior to closing, then we can list it out in an amendment. And then we have to get invoices of everything that's done. We got to get completed work that's done. And typically we don't want to send the appraiser out there until all that work is already completed.
Which is going to hold things up.
Right. Because if that work is already started, let's say it's a repair for, I don't know, Joe, what's one that we see a lot of?
The roof.
The roof. Oh, that one's a huge one.
You don't want to go that
one's a huge one. But I've seen repairs to the AC unit.
Okay.
Right. To have it maintenance and stuff like that. Well, that's great. I get why you want that done, but it doesn't need to be on the contract because now we have to wait for that maintenance to be done. We got to get the invoices and things like that. But I've also had flooring. Flooring to be completely done prior to closing, things like that. Well, then we have to get the invoices. We have to wait for the install date.
Yep.
So a bunch of those things do hinder our loans. But one that's bigger than that, Joe, can you even tell us what's bigger than repairs on a contract that just really is not a fun one for us?
I think I know where you're going with this, but for me, and I had this recently, just a couple months ago, the family, when they looked at the house and everything, they just fell in love with it. But one of the things they fell in love with was the dining room set. And so that became a part of the contract that they wanted that dining table. Folks, if there's furniture, stuff like that, that's pool table, whatever that you want as a part, don't put it in the contract. We don't want to see that. That's something separate that you two can agree upon outside of
especially if you put a $0 amount, because it's called a non-realty item addendum. That goes to the contract that you fill out, and it's usually got a dollar amount that you think for all this stuff. And why is this a problem for us? Because, hey, it's just part of the house. Well, perfect example is, let's say that you buy a house that the house is worth $200,000, but with the artwork and the furniture and all these other things, you're buying this house at $400,000. Just put that out there, right? Wow. I'm gonna put a big number. I'm going to exaggerate this some.
Yeah, okay. I guess so.
But now, you had artwork in there, you had everything else, there was a car, I don't care what it is, but let's say that added 200,000 and we got an appraisal done based on that. And it appraised all that stuff has to appraise in there too. And we do a loan on a purchase price of 400,000, but the house is only worth 2. Well, if you move out and take all that stuff with you and get foreclosed on, we're stuck with a $200,000 house.
Right.
So in that manner, is all that stuff is personal and it's not part of the actual property. So it can't be included in there. The other way that we look at that is that it's an inducement to buy that house. So it's the seller inducing you to buy that house because you're getting that stuff for free. And then that also cannot be done because now all that stuff that's in that house has to be appraised. And then that value is taken off your purchase price. So there's a couple of things in there that hurt us from being able to do that. And that's why Joe says, work that out, keep it outside of the contract, because that's a whole different kind of way of doing it.
And another thing that we don't want to see, folks, is the inspection report. Right? Please don't send that to us. We really don't want to see that.
You can ask questions. And now I've helped some of my buyers with questions on it. But the reason we say we don't want it is we don't want it to accidentally get in our file. We don't want it to accidentally get over to an underwriter, because then they're going to look it over. They're going to look it over. And an inspection is pointing out anything and everything, where an appraisal points out the things that go against, lending guidelines. So on FHA, there's more restrictions than conventional, and VA has, less restrictions than conventional sometimes. There's always a myth out there about how hard VA appraisals are. And we've done a show on that one too.
Yes.
But, making sure that all of that stuff lines up, it really helps us. So, and it helps the appraisers be able to do their job from it. But I think, kind of going back to that first topic we talked about, Joe, kind of wrapping this up, is the biggest problem with submitting an offer is communication between lender, agent, and yourself as the buyer. Absolutely. All three of y'all have to be communicating at the time you make that offer, in my opinion. I think it's a great way for you to understand what your payments are going to be. It's a great way for the agent to understand what you guys talked about from a lending standpoint, and the lender being able to be right there for the agent to make that phone call and talk about the strengths of your deal.
Because if you're not doing that, then your lender and realtor could be missing out on different strategies to help put you in a better financial position. Yep. Bottom line to it, right? I get it, folks, as far as the realtor is the one that is showing you that home, right? So it's natural that's the person that you're communicating with, because after all, everybody wants to buy the house with the white picket fence. They don't want to buy a debt. And that's what Joe and I have, the debt, right? So talking to us probably isn't as glamorous as the realtor that's showing you that beautiful home, but together we'll be able to help strategize and put you in a better position, because you may be able to use those seller concessions more towards like a 2-1 buy down, right? Yep. To put you in a better position. Let's figure that out. Let's strategize those things with your realtor to make sure that, if seller concessions are needed, if they're not needed, whatever, that it's going to be, together and putting a strategy together that meets really your needs and beyond.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. So, well, I know we're starting to run out of time. We're actually trying to keep this we've been running over so many times. We're actually trying an effort here to keep it within 30 minutes. So to kind of recap on things of today's show, please, making an offer. Yes, it is exciting, but it's not just between you and the seller. Okay. Also understand that a smart buyer, sorry, I'm getting distracted here. My phone is blowing up, Joe. It is. My phone is blowing up. I'm getting a little distracted. A smart buyer includes their lender from the start, always. And avoid these rookie mistakes. Keep your team aligned and protect your path all the way to the closing, because one slip up could mean, failure in this, right? So your lender isn't just about the money. They're a part of the strategy, bottom line. So next week, we're going to continue on with this theme of avoiding these rookie mistakes as we kind of flip the script, though, and tack the offer mistakes buyers make from the realtor side, and how to make sure your agent is setting you up for success as well. Want to thank everyone for listening in. Wish we would have had some comments to work on some of the ideas.
Yeah, the participation lately has not been there for us.
I know you guys got to drop some comments in there. We would love to hear from you. But hey, if you only caught part of the show, or you want to catch up on some of our past episodes, please go to our YouTube channel at The Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast on our YouTube channel. While you're there, be sure and hit the subscribe button, because we are on a mission to get to 1,000 subscribers, and every like, comment, share as well helps us reach more home buyers like yourselves. Before we close things out, Joe, any last words of wisdom or nuggets of advice for our listeners?
Thank you guys for tuning in. I know people do comments. We have some likes and hearts. Really appreciate the ones that do. We want questions. We want people to ask them or give us comments. If there's a show you want us to do, put that in our comments too. Yeah. We'd love to hear that. But, thank you guys for listening in. And Joe, thank you again for everything you do to keep this show going for us.
I'm Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy with the beard is Cup of Joe Mortgage, and we'll see you next week. Mr.